Hello everybody, welcome back to the Driveway Engineer. I'm JR and I'm here with Brittany today. And today we're going to tear down, I've actually already torn this down, spoiler alert, I cleaned it up a little bit. But I'm going to tear it down on camera today and we're going to pull the bad piston and show you guys what it looks like to take the front accessories and everything off of here. And show you what it looks like inside. We'll take a look at a couple of the bearings, which I haven't done yet, and see what it takes. And before I get started, there seems to be some confusion about the goal of this build. The goal isn't to throw a bunch of aftermarket parts at it. The goal was to build the best engine you can build in the junkyard for $224 and see how much power it makes. See how good it is, see how little you need all that other crap. The goal was not to throw some hog-ass cam at it that idles at 1200 RPM and needs a 4000 RPM stall. I know how to make a lot of power. A lot of high RPM power is not going to do me any good in my wife's 1971 Oldsmobile 98 that weighs 5,000 pounds and is literally 32 feet long. So this is kind of like a truck engine, and that's how it's going to be built. Cheap gas. Eventually I'm going to put a small cam in it and a turbo that's appropriate to that car, not appropriate to making a billion horsepower. That's not the point of my channel, and that's not the point of this build. So if that's why you're here, you're probably in the wrong place. I just want to tear it apart and show how cheap you can do something and get it done and what it'll make. So I'm going to hand the camera over to Brittany and we're going to start tearing this thing apart now. Say hello to the good people of YouTube.
Well, I was about to, bossy.
Like literally all the tools. It's a ghost. Literally all the tools you need to tear apart an LS engine are like a 15mm socket, an 8, a 10, and a 13, and the whole thing comes apart. And this is right now it's just kind of faked together because I just wanted to keep it all in one spot and not lose anything. A lot of people have commented about Trailblazer SS intakes, and yes, they make more power, like 10 or 15 horsepower. At this power level, they'd probably be closer to 10. But then you got to get new fuel rails, you got to get a new crossover, you got to get an adapter for your throttle body, so you wind up being into that $100 Trailblazer intake for like close to 300 bucks, which isn't exactly a screaming deal to get 10 horsepower. And I get that you think it's 10 more than the other guy, but the reality is the other guy probably didn't do anything and is just sitting at home. Normally these seam ports have to come off to pull the heads, but I only have like 3 head bolts in there because, like I said, it's just kind of faked together for right now. The exhaust manifolds are the Trailblazer 5.3 manifolds that I told you guys about from the junkyard. You can see how much tighter they tuck compared to like a truck manifold. I've been trying to call around and find quotes to run this thing on the dyno, and it seems that the going rate's like 500 bucks, so that's not a bolt hole. So I'm not gonna spend $1,000 to dyno this just for YouTube. Like, I don't like you guys that much. I don't have that kind of money. is what it really comes down to. As usual, everything comes down to money. It's probably just going to get run the one time. These are Dorman replacement bolts. They're like $11. They have a bigger head on them. They don't seem to break. I use them a bunch. For everything that I'm doing right now, you don't really have to pull the front accessories, but I'm going to because apparently I'm a sissy and I can't manage to flip this thing over on the stand. As far as this giant mechanical fan goes, I'm probably just going to leave it. It's a giant mechanical car, so I don't really care about the 11 horsepower it takes to turn it. Yeah, on my C10 I don't have enough clearance, or I would run the mechanical fan there also. I don't really care about a few horsepower. It's way easier to know that this is running. If the engine's running, my fan is running. It's pretty straightforward. Now you can see the AC system. It's all standalone, and I'm actually going to leave it there for the time being. I don't feel like messing with it, and I don't have to right now, so I'm not going to. Step back somewhere. You don't have to be right in on top of it. That's why I said you can sit down. I'm usually able to get the valve covers off with the coil packs on. I have to take the front steam port off because it's hooked together. If you have the 4-port, you'll have to take them all off. If you don't have the 4-port, that's fine. Although I did have somebody comment that if you're trying to make 1,500 horsepower, you better have the 4-port. Whatever, don't care. Odds are neither do you. If you're watching this channel, you probably haven't even started yet, which is fine. The point of this channel is that you don't have to let people like that get in your head. You can see how much cleaner it is now than it was last time. All I did was use this stuff right here, LA Awesome from the dollar store, and my power washer, and it cleaned it right up. Okay, come here, please. There. Number 8 had a busted manifold stud, and it looks like that led to a lean condition that caused that ring of butt ends. Again, I've had a bunch of comments, oh, it's too much nitrous. No, it wasn't. It was in a piece of crap 1500 HD. Somebody bought that thing 4 years ago with their earned income credit, and hasn't done anything to it but drive it. I'm sure they were going to fix it up one day, but that never happened. And I'm sure it was running like that because it had a bunch of police auction writing on it. And a bunch of mud in it. It's unfortunate. Let me reconfigure my lights. Alright, hopefully I have enough crap off this that I can rotate it now. And there she goes. The little pin's probably saving my life. I better make sure to put it back in.
That's why we're always buying bolts.
From the junkyard, off the ground. Since it's raining today, maybe the rain will just perfectly degrease your oil pan for you.
Probably not.
This stuff, I think these window tray bolts are 13, yep. So this is a windage tray. When the crank's in there whipping around, this is part of a piston ring. When the crank's in there whipping around, it can actually suck the oil up out of the pan and make like a foamy froth. And then the crank has to smash its way through it, which is way harder than smashing its way through air. This used to be a race car thing, but it's made its way into everything now.
Well, if it's good enough for a race car.
It's good enough to do it. Now here is the one part we're coming up. The one part that I will replace while I'm every time. Sometimes it needs a little persuasion. At the end of your oil pump pickup, there's an O-ring. Mine stayed stuck in there. What happens is it gets all blown out, and then your engine doesn't keep good pressure, and what you'll see is like symptomatic of like the old high volume oil pumps where you rev it and the oil pressure come up and you let off and it drops and you rev it and it comes up. That's because with RPM it's able to build pressure regardless of the seal. This one's in good shape, but it's green, so I know it's original because the replacement is red. And it's hard to see, but this one's squared off and the replacement's round. It just seals a lot tighter. They're like $8 or something. I replaced those while I'm at it. And yes, same as everything else, $8 and $8 and $8 do add up. But
Oh, I can't get this thing to focus now.
you can come up here for a second. This is your reluctor wheel, just as an FYI. This is what the crank sensor reads. It sees, you know, you've heard that computers see in ones and zeros. Well, this is a 1 and this is a 0. Or maybe the other way around. I don't know if you're some kind of reluctor wheel scientist. I'm sure you'll get in the comments and correct me. The point is that it's a magnet that sits down there. Can you see down there? That's a magnet that sits there, and when it's close, it reads it as on, and when it's not close, it reads it as off, and it counts this, and that's how it knows where the crank is at. That's the main difference between a Gen 3 and a Gen 4 that makes it so you can't interchange. So the reluctor wheel on a Gen 4 is 58 teeth, I think, and this is 24. So that's the main difference that changes so that you can interchange them. Just as an FYI. So you can like pull the crank out and change this wheel if you want. It's kind of a big hassle. Or they make converters, like Lingenfelter makes a converter for like $300. It changes a 58X signal into a 24. But it's simple, it's just to get the engine you're supposed to have. What the hell? So when it first came out that this engine had a damaged piston, I had a bunch of people reach out to me. But one guy local, Wayne Tinkham, we have some mutual friends in common from when I grew up. He's from the same area I'm from. He said he has a 6-liter Gen 3 engine that I can grab, you know, as a core. It's junk, but I can grab a piston out of it. So I'm gonna make the drive out there. It's about a 2-hour drive for me, but it's worth it for a free piston. But that's that bad piston, and that's the bearing on it, exactly the way it came out of the block. Let me see if I can clean this up a little bit for you. Yeah, it's got some really dirty ass oil in it, but so it's perfect. I mean, it's fine. This is going back in exactly the way it came out. Because this is a bad piston, I don't care so much as if it were a good piston. So I'm just going to drop it out like that. There's the other half of the bearing that I just stepped on. Wish I hadn't done that. But again, there's no real wear there. This It's like a shade lighter than a brand new one, and that's it. So, if you didn't know, I know Brittany doesn't know, it's aluminum over top of copper. So when they wear out, you can see the copper in them. So what happened here was, because that was missing a bolt, this ring gap got too tight when it got hot. The hotter it gets in the chamber, the tighter this gets, which is why you got to open it up for boost or nitrous. And eventually it got so tight that it just popped this, it's just a cast piston, popped it right off there. And you get a junk piston. So it is a very similar failure to what you would see or expect with a boost motor or a nitrous motor, but apparently it can just happen to your crappy welfare wagon too. Are y'all done filming now?
Are you done with me filming?
Yeah, you look tired. Wayne did ask for this old piston, which is why I'm pulling it today, and this is going to be a 2-part series. So that he could still have a complete core engine, which I'm perfectly fine with. So I'm going to take this out to Wayne tomorrow. Man, it's really hashed. And we'll get a new piston, and that'll be the next part, whatever part we're on. I think this is part 4.
Be still.
You be still. So, until next time, that's it. This is JR and Brittany. Say bye.
Goodbye.
See ya.